YouTube, what is up? James MTG Biggie here, and I'm at work today and wanted to take an opportunity to talk about Death and Taxes. Um, Everybody knows that Deathrite Shaman is out of Legacy right now, and so I want to talk about what our deck looks like going forward, since I feel like we are one of the biggest winners of this ban and restricted list announcement. The fact that Deathrite is gone means that Wasteland is now a much more relevant card in Legacy once again. The stress that Kolaghan's Command was putting on our Stoneforge package is going to be alleviated at least a little bit, as I believe Kolaghan's Command is not going to be nearly as heavily played in the format, just because the main decks it was in was Grixis and 4-color check pile. So here's what we have going forward and where I'm starting with Death and Taxes. Of course, there is the core of the deck: 4 of Aether Vial, 4 of Mother of Runes, 4 of Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, 4 Stoneforge, 4 Swords of Plowshares, 4 Flicker Wisp, and then 2 Recruiter of the Guards. That package is going to basically be the same no matter what, and with the Stoneforge, the 3 equipment package of Umezawa's Jite, Sword of Fire and Ice, and Batterskull is going to be the same. I know some people were considering cutting Batterskull before. I still think it's good enough to be in the deck. There are times where it will run away with the game. It is the least important of the equipment, but it is still very effective a lot of the time. Now, the cards I'd like to talk about are the cards that flex a little bit more. One of those cards lately has become Phyrexian Revoker. With the addition of Brightling to the format, the Revoker becomes a little bit more compromised in the list to make room for cards like Brightling. Brightling is insane. In my testing, it has been a home run every time I resolved it, and has become a very hard to deal with problem for a lot of decks in the format. I am going to be running 3 going forward. I have a backwards card here because there is one that I am missing. Not missing, but I don't have with me. And for right now, I think at least 2, but I've liked it so much I'm going to try 3. Mirror Crusader I still like as a one of. It has become weaker and weaker in the meta just because there are a lot of decks and a lot of matchups where it is underwhelming. But when it is kind of at its height is against the green-black X decks that are playing Abrupt Decays and Fatal Pushes, and that's their removal package. So I think it's still worth having one of, but I can see it being trimmed completely in some circumstances. For right now, I really like One Sanctum Prelate still. That's another one that when it is underwhelming, it seems really bad. But when it works out and when it is in one of your better matchups for that card, like Storm, it's very, very good. So that's a card that I can see being trimmed later. But for right now, I think it's worthwhile. The other card that I want to talk about, I don't have with me because unfortunately I haven't gone to a pre-release this weekend, is Remorseful Cleric from M19. I'm going to be trying this card out as a 1 of, possibly a 2 of, somewhere in the 75. I don't have them on me, so I didn't put it in this video. That's a card I could see trimming the Prelate for, or possibly the Mirror Crusader, or keeping it at 2 Brightlings and maybe the third one to be the Remorseful Cleric. Not entirely sure. Over to the mana base, you'll notice a bit of change. We have the core package of the Land Disruption of Wasteland and Rashadenport, and the 3 of Karakas are always a must. But the change is where we come over to our basic lands. We're on 13 plains, which I'm going to be splitting between plains and snow-covered plains. That is a concession to the fact that Miracles is going to be around and Predict is a card. So if you have half plains, half snow-covered plains, in the blind, it is harder for Miracles to hit with their predicts by naming basic planes. Because some of the time they'll hit snow-covered and not get to draw their extra card. I think we want to play as many untapped, free white sources as possible, because Blood Moon is still a thing. If Miracles is on the uptick and they play back to basics, that is a consideration that we want to take into mind. I think Cavern of Souls is worse because we now have Brightling and Remorseful Cleric, both of which are not humans, so the count of humans in the deck is drastically down. We're on 8, 9, maybe 10 total, which makes Cavern of Souls a lot more of a dead card in many situations. Obviously, we have the synergy to be able to Flicker Wisp it to change what we name, but there's better things to be doing with your Flicker Wisp triggers. So I'm kind of low on Cavern. Another consideration is Horizon Canopy. I'm not really too high on that card either in Legacy Death and Taxes. We have enough engines to gain virtual card advantage through like Stoneforge Tutoring or Recruiter of the Guard, where like the sacrificing a land to draw a card isn't always amazing. We are running 24 lands now as opposed to 23 or even some older lists that run 22. Because of Brightling, we want to be able to activate every one of its abilities, sometimes multiple times over a turn cycle. So 24 lands, maybe the Canopy is good enough to have as a one of, in case you flood out a little bit, but I think for the foreseeable future, we're going to be on a lot more basics. As far as sideboarding goes, I don't have my sideboard set up here because I didn't have it fully together with me today, but it's going to be kind of a generic base sideboard for right now. We're going to want our Path to Exiles, we're going to want our Graveyard Hate, whether it be Rest in Peace plus Surgical, or Rest in Peace plus Fairy Macabre, or some split up of those cards total. Even if we are running the Remorseful Cleric in our main deck, we still want more Graveyard Hate because Reanimator is going to be a real problem in the format, I think, for at least the beginning of the new format. So I wanted access to Graveyard Hate, and then we have our Sword of War and Peace as our extra equipment for the Mirror match, for the Miracles match. It is absolutely absurd in those matchups, so definitely worth having. And then there's the usual suspects of Containment Priest, Aethersworn Canonist. I have still 2 and 2 right now. Going forward, that can change. And then you get the option of your 4-mana Haymakers, whether it be Palace Jailer or a couple Cataclysms or Gideon Ally of Zendikar. Those cards are optional. I prefer Cataclysm, but of course that does change periodically. So that's what the deck's looking like. I just wanted to share this with everybody. Kind of what to look for in your core Death and Taxes build. Those who don't know, there are a ton of resources out there on the deck, including a Facebook group, a website, Thraben University, ran by Phil Gallagher, and various other really huge proponents of the deck. Craig Westco has a guide out there that's a little bit dated. All the resources are a touch dated, so I wanted to come with a fully updated list and just talk about the deck for a little bit, and also some matchups. I think looking forward, Reanimator is going to be a big deal. Rug Delver is going to be a big deal. We have a good matchup against Rug Delver. We have about a little more than a 50-50 matchup with Reanimator. Reanimator's tough because game 1, you're going to be unfavored. After sideboarding, you get a lot better, but that deck is very resilient, much more so than you would think. So it's a little bit over 50-50 in our favor. Miracles is a big one. I think Miracles is a very good matchup if you know how to navigate it. Playing that matchup well is one of the most fun times I've ever had playing Magic. And then Mono Red Prison, I think we're really good against. The black-green Loam decks, Depths Loam decks, Turbo Depths and whatnot, we're pretty good against. We have Caracas, Wasteland, and Swords to Plowshares, so dealing with Merit Lage isn't usually a problem. Sneak and Show is a good matchup, pending they don't have Omniscience. So the fact that our deck is set up good against 73 or 74 of their 75 is pretty decent for us, but Omniscience is almost unbeatable. And then all the other matchups kind of remain the same as they were. Elves is horrible. We're auto-losing that most of the time. Eldrazi is pretty bad for us. They're just doing bigger creature-based things than we are, so that matchup is a hard time for us. Aside from that, the meta is going to look really interesting, and I think looks really, really good for Death and Taxes. So that's all I've got. I just wanted to make a quick video here with an update for the deck, and outside of this pile of cards right here, with minor few adjustments, that's kind of where I'm at for right now. And I hope that this can be helpful for those who either have the deck or are interested in playing the deck. This is kind of what to look for going forward, and where you kind of want to be, at least at the first start of the new format. So either way, I look forward to hearing from all of you guys soon, and feel free to go ahead and comment down below. Let me know what you think of the deck. Let me know what you think the deck will look like going forward. If you have any other tech or any ideas, by all means, I love the conversation about Death and Taxes. That's about all I've got. I'll leave a subscribe button up in the top corner, and if you guys haven't yet, please click that. And as always, you can find me on Twitter at MTGBiggie and all over the YouTubes and internets. I look forward to hearing from everybody very soon, and it's a brave new world, and we have definitely got a lot of potential going forward in Legacy to be the deck to beat. So either way, guys, thanks for everything, and I'll talk to you again soon.